So the Washington Commanders have a huge matchup on Thursday Night Football. Some say a potential NFC Championship preview with the Green Bay Packers. I had to go out and get one of the best podcasts that covers the Green Bay Packers to help me go behind enemy lines. Let's do it.
Shout out to Juan Gotti Talking Sports. You know what it is.
Shout out Juan Gotti Talking Sports.
The way that we live is not for everybody.
Nah, that ain't it, y'all.
How do you think the rest of Jaden Daniels' career is going to go? If we're, 6, 7 games into Jaden Daniels' career, and he's already milking injuries? Like,
They stop saying my name, you dick riding bastard.
YouTube, what's going on? It's Juan Gotti here. We have the Washington Commanders live stream, and welcome into yet another installment of Behind Enemy Lines. And I'm here with a very, very special guest, my guy Jordan Olson, representing the Green Bay Packers. How you doing, my guy?
Oh man, I'm great. Like I told you a minute ago, pre-show, still riding the high from that Detroit Lions victory. You know, the Lions have kind of bullied us around the last few years in this division. Went out and got Micah Parsons a few, weeks ago, and obviously reaped some early benefits from that. But I'm feeling good, man. I am ready for Thursday night. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, and I told you pre-show as well. Like you rocking the joy and love. I wish I had my Jaden Daniels, but it's out in the car, so I didn't want to hold up any longer. Want to get straight to it, so I'll rock the burgundy jersey for now. But man, before we get any further to actually talk about our matchup, let everyone know about you guys' platform and how is that going so far?
Yeah. Thanks for that opportunity. So you can find all the work that we do. We primarily, are on YouTube right now at Sounds Gouda. So my best friend, Rob Relf, and I, we've been going at it for a little over a year and a half. We're entering our second full season covering the Packers. Really for me, it started out as I'm talking and consuming Packers 365 days a year, whether it's with my dad, my brother, in our group chat, my best friend, Rob. So why not put that on the internet? I feel like we got some interesting takes. But we've been having a lot of fun with that. You can also find us on X. Rob is at Sounds Gouda with 3 A's, and I'm at Olson George. So we definitely want to interact with anybody that would like to have conversation. So get after us sometime.
Definitely, guys, do yourself a service. Again, a lot of people feel like this may not be the last time we lock horns. So you guys are going to want to keep up with the Green Bay Packers throughout the season, as you alluded to. Dominant win at home against the Detroit Lions that has kind of ran the North for the past couple of seasons. You guys went out there and pleasantly surprised me. I mean, I'll start with my opinion. Of course, I thought Detroit would win the game. I definitely felt like they would have came out better. But as we clearly seen throughout from the jump, the Packers, they looked good, both offensively and defensively. But to the Lions' point, I think what a lot of people like myself kind of knew was going to happen, but I kind of just felt like, Dan Campbell has this strong hold on this organization. They'll be good. But, man, I'll tell you, Jordan, I think Detroit may be in for some trouble with losing Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson because, again, those guys were an intricate part of their success. And it's normal to lose one guy, one on one side of the ball to be a new head coach. But to lose both guys, that's pretty tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, I think that made an obvious impact on the game. But I think, almost as much as that coaching staff too, that reworked interior offensive line of the Detroit Lions and the pressure that the Packers are able to put on Goff, really was a big difference maker in that game. So, and watching Ben Johnson, last night too, he didn't really seem to have it figured out. And obviously in this division, the NFC North, there's been a lot of smack talk between the Bears fans and the Packers fans. And of course they won the offseason again. But it looks like Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams still got some work to do. So.
Yeah, and to your point, that leaves it wide open for the Green Bay Packers
Mhm.
to take the North, because I mean, you look at it on paper, it's a competitive division. Like you cannot exclude Detroit after one game, of course, but if
No.
you had to say a team that looks the best and looks really confident to take over the North after one game, it would be the Green Bay Packers, because
Mhm.
Caleb Williams, he started off hot, you know what I mean? But I still said he's checked down shorty, because
Mhm.
he looked just like Jared Goff yesterday. And I'm not
Mhm.
gonna take no shots at him, of course, because I think he'll ultimately be good. But he was just doing exactly what he was supposed to. DeAndre Swift checked down, he had Roma Dunze that he decided not to go to. So there is some learning curves, and I stopped watching at 17-6. I fell asleep. I was like, they're gonna win this
Mhm.
game, because JJ McCarthy wasn't looking too good at the time as well. And and this is not right by me, but I kind of already have my mind made up about JJ McCarthy. I'm like,
Mhm.
he'll probably be that Brock Purdy-ish kind of guy. But we'll see. Kevin O'Connell seems to be a quarterback whisperer. See
Mhm.
what he did with Sam Darnold. But I had my mind made up. I'm like, oh, this game's over. I wake up and I said, how did they lose this game? So, man, hats off to your Packers. They're off to a fast start with my guy, Matt LaFleur, former Washington Redskins coach. So
Mhm.
get to your Packers and a little bit of this game. But first, talk to me. It's settled in. He's played one game. We're familiar with him for coming from our division. And Jordan, before you go, I just want to say thank you. You're the only team that we can thank as fans, because as we know, the Packers are the owners, the fans are the owners of the team. So
Mhm.
thank you for taking Micah Parsons out of our division. I will give you, if I had it, $1,000,000 for that, because that guy for the next decade was going to cause hell for us, man. How does it feel to have Micah?
Oh, it feels great. I mean, there's so many things that I could jump into right there. But I mean, first of all, like I was at the Packers Lions game this past Sunday, and I've been to a lot of games now, never seen an introduction for a player with that kind of, energy by the Packers fans. I mean, they were ready for that Micah Parsons debut, and they let him know it. And then, equally when he got that first sack against Jared Goff, I mean, that place erupted. So the vibes were immaculate. Definitely ready for Micah to be an impact player on this team. I was talking on my pod with my family, whatever your feelings are, Josh Jacobs, Xavier McKinney, maybe even throw Jordan Love in there if that's your flavor. Micah Parsons is now immediately the best player on this Packers roster. And he elevates them to the next level. So we're happy to take him out of your division and into the NFC North. As you probably know from years and years, he's a complete game wrecker. And I found it crazy after we made the trade, finding out that Micah Parsons was basically the Dallas Cowboys were like number one in DVOA adjusted for opponent with him on the field, and their defense was like last adjusted for opponent, on the with him off of the field. So
Yeah.
just a tremendous, tremendous player. So we're happy to have him. How does it feel to have him out of the division?
Man, I tell you, a lot of people have this this notion about Micah Parsons that he doesn't show up in playoffs. He's not good against the run, which
Hmm.
may be true up until this point, but you're out of your mind if you don't think a
Hmm.
guy that's 26 years old, not even in his prime yet, is a final product. I'm sure he has a lot to work on, right? I'm sure he has a lot to get better at, but man, it feels amazing that to not have to worry about no threat in the division as a pass
Hmm.
rush. I mean, look, you got New York, who we took care of. They told us about this vaunted front four. Dexter Lawrence is still on a milk carton. He didn't do
Hmm.
anything to us on Sundays. I'm still looking for him. Jalen Carter can't get out of his own way, spitting on Dak Prescott. So we
Hmm.
we have no defensive threats that scares us. And of course, with our quarterback being as dynamic as he is, it feels amazing, man. It truly does. And getting back to the Packers, because we want to learn a little bit, about your game, your takeaways, positive, negative takeaways. One thing I will say, with all the positives that came away from this game, it being a short week, which I think kind of bodes well for the Washington Commanders. I'm not too sure how
Hmm.
how serious these injuries are, but I think given a short week, there's a real chance that some of your guys could be out. I saw the list and
Mm-hmm.
it was pretty lifty. So what do you talk about that?
Yeah, actually, it's the list is a little deceiving. There's a lot of guys that are hangovers from the preseason on there. They had a couple scratches, your Zane Andersons and a few of the like more role players of the world. I would say that a couple injuries from the game that do cause me some reason to have some concern. Obviously, Zach Tom, he's one of the best right tackles in the game. They just paid him handsomely. And he was kind of trying to avoid contact with Jordan Love, kind of got flipped over. People thought it was going to be a little bit of a hip injury, but it's labeled as an oblique injury. So I am a little concerned with him potentially on the short week. Darian Kennard and Anthony Belton came up, pretty solid in relief. I'm a little bit more worried about the Commanders' pass rush than I am Detroit. Detroit, especially without Zadarius Smith and Josh Pascal, it's kind of a one-person show with Aiden Hutchinson there, and he clearly looks like he's got to get back up to game speed at this point in time. So I am a little concerned about that Zach Tom injury. Bo Melton is a guy who's a core special teamer at this point in time, plays all four units, your fourth corner. So really it's if you can get Nate Hobbs back from the injury he sat week 1, he's going to be your primary slot, defender at that point in time. And that's what they paid him to do in free agency. He's going to be somebody that's going to come in and hope to shut people down from the slot position. So, go ahead, Juan.
Oh, no, you're good. I was just ad-libbing you if you weren't done. I was just saying, agreeing with you.
Yeah. So,
but
I think those are the big guys that I'm concerned about. I see that the Commanders list is pretty light. The Jaden Reed injury, he played tremendous. I think he was kind of playing possum. Somebody put out there that there was a Jones fracture. That's like a 8 to 10 week sideline type of position, and the math wasn't really adding up for me there. But he certainly didn't play like that was slowing him down this previous week. So.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And I agree with you to an extent of if this was a Sunday game, like if this was a full week of rest and practice and whatnot, I think a lot of you guys' injuries probably wouldn't be as lengthy as it is now. But given it is a short week, that's why I say I feel like we kind of have the advantage in the injury department because some guys may end up not playing, or if they are playing, they're definitely going to be a little bit compromised due to the fact of having to have this quick turnaround. But we'll definitely see. Tomorrow's going to be the super telling day for both teams. Again, ours isn't really that serious. We had Jaden Daniels with a wrist injury, but he's fine. And our punter, Tress Way, which can somewhat be huge in a sense, he's dealing with a back, but all signs are pointing to him playing. So we'll definitely see how things shape out. It should be a fun contest with all teams being somewhat healthy headed into week 2. And I'll be honest with you, Jordan. I cannot wait for this game for a big reason. I know you might not like me for saying this take, but I'm gonna just go ahead. I told you I gotta be real, man. This game for me is the final, I guess, chance I'm giving Jordan Love. Now, hear me out. Hear me out, because Jordan Love is a good quarterback. I believe he's a good starting quarterback in this league. But for me personally, watching Jordan Love, maybe that Dallas game was it for you, or for should have been for me. I'm just not quite sold on him to be a superstar level quarterback, a guy that you can put the team on his back, and better than me. So again, forgive me for speaking out of term if I am. I don't want the Packers fans to think I hate Jordan Love, but he has, to me personally, he hasn't done that for me yet as an outsider, to just like proving that he is just one of those guys. And I think tomorrow or Thursday night for me, he has to show it, because if we can get after him, if he doesn't have a game in which it's voting well and he's not turning the ball over, or should I say he's turning the ball over, looking to press, because again, as you alluded to, our pass rush is much better than Detroit. Our defensive defensive coordinator and Joe Jr., who has history with the Green Bay Packers as well, he's going to rely on his personnel, and I think our personnel is so much better than last year. And we caused hell for Russell Wilson this past week, and Jordan Love is not Russell Wilson. Jordan Love is much better than Russell Wilson. But to that point, how are you feeling about Jordan Love, and what do you feel about my overall take on him right now? Like, he's not bad, but I just haven't seen him, to me, be that superstar guy just yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, it's a fair take, right? For both of the last 2 years, it's definitely been the tale of two seasons for Jordan Love, right? Back half of both years being, the better of the product.
Mm-hmm.
Last year I kind of find is not really an accurate litmus test though, because he goes out in that Eagles game.
Mm-hmm.
He has that knee injury, spends the first couple weeks not being very mobile, after returning from that injury. So he missed, 3.5 games in total, then overcompensates in the game against the Vikings, has a groin injury, and basically you look at him and he's not very mobile. So
Right.
Jordan Love is best probably when he's under center, can do a lot of things with play action. The Packers can get creative in unleashing a lot of things. So he was forced to play a lot out of, the gun last year, kind of try to get quick passes away, try to avoid being, re-aggravated by taking a bad hit again. So you are going to see a healthy Jordan Love now. I heard this statistic the other day, though, and this will probably cause you to stop and maybe rethink your assessment.
Okay.
But Jordan Love now has gone 8 consecutive games without throwing an interception.
Okay.
So the Packers haven't seen that since 2019. That means that you went through Aaron Rodgers MVP in 2021, Aaron Rodgers MVP year in 2020, with a Packers quarterback throwing interceptions more frequently than those 8 games. So I definitely think Jordan can be a little bit of a streaky player, but if he's healthy, I think that he has the ability to be a top 5, top 6, quarterback in this league. So, so I think that's my take on it. So this season is pivotal for Jordan, though. This is his 3rd year as a starter, and now that Micah's there, I mean, the Packers have pushed all their chips in, and they're ready to compete. So,
hey, I love it. I love it, and I'll play like positive negative for a second. I kind of feel good as just take the Commanders gear off and just football fan that you didn't completely say I'm wrong. Like you said, like, hey, look, there's some validity to it, right? Like, and I feel confident in my assessment as just a fan because I kind of felt that way, and you kind of alluded to reasons as to why. But also on the flip side, as you mentioned, 8 consecutive games without an interception. That's impressive. But I'll also say this too, Jordan, for me, you guys were always good growing up for me. Like, all I know is Aaron Rodgers and Jordy Nelson and Devontae Adams, and we'll get to the rest of your squad. But I think that's a big reason as to why I'm not really, I guess, fair on your new additions, is because I'm so used to you guys having superstar power. And for me, on the outside looking in, you have a good team, right? But for I guess a casual take on it, because I'm not a Packers fan, I'm looking at like Dontavian Wicks and Romeo Dobbs and Tucker Kraft. I'm like, are these guys that really fear you? Like how back in the day when A-Rod was there, it's like, oh, you go into Lambeau Field, you know you're not winning. Like, especially with us, we never win in Lambeau Field, man, especially with Aaron Rodgers being under the helm. So I guess it's somewhat of a not fair take on my end because I'm just so used to you guys having that superstar power.
Yeah, and I mean that's fair, right? I mean, there's a lot of Packers fans that have spent, the last number of years in this transition post Aaron Rodgers, kind of, it's an unfair criteria for Jordan Love to live up to, the same way it was an unfair criteria for Aaron Rodgers to live up to Brett Favre. There were years where people were showing up to Lambeau Field wearing purple Favre jerseys because they were still supporting Favre over Rodgers. And then, Aaron Rodgers obviously goes on to be one of the, better quarterbacks in NFL history, 4-time MVP. So, I think that there's reason to kind of be tough on him. Right. And I hope that he's the kind of guy that wants to live up to those expectations and be that next dude. So, and you mentioned kind of, and maybe this is your segue to get into it. So maybe you got a follow-up, question for me. But, I think the Packers are chock full of young and kind of guys ready to burst out. They are the youngest team in the NFL for the third consecutive season. I think the Commanders are actually the oldest, most veteran team in the NFL right now, right? So they've loaded up around Jaden Daniels with a ton of veteran experience. But I think guys like Tucker Kraft, typically tight ends in this league take a couple years to kind of break out. I think he's poised for a big season this year. I actually think he could be the leading target getter for the Green Bay Packers at some point in time this year. I think that they have a lot at wide receiver. I just think Matt LaFleur wants to really spread that ball out, and you're not going to end up with a Terry McLaurin or a Amon-Ra St. Brown where, really they're going to get 7 to 10 receptions a game and really inflate those numbers. But if you took like 4 of those guys off this team and you were really relying on like a core of 4 guys like Josh Jacobs, Tucker Kraft, and then like pick 2 of those receivers, let's just say it's Matthew Golden, Romeo Dobbs. Like I think that you have fantasy football numbers that look a lot more inflated. I think your average fan is a little bit more of a believer because, there's a couple dudes that are leaned into a little bit more often at that point in time.
Without a doubt. And that's a great point too. Like that's for me also on the outside looking in, like you guys have a bunch of stuff, a bunch of untapped potential. I mean, Christian Watson time and time again, when healthy, has shown that he may be able to establish himself as the legit number 1 guy. Again, you have Jayden Reed, right? And I even take a liking to Matthew Golden. I know it's only been 1 week, but I even take a liking to him and Dontavian Wicks. So again, with you guys being the youngest team in the NFL, it's not by far a final product, and it may take a few more years for these guys to really click as a core. But again, that's where I think the lack of fear for me comes in, is that maybe you don't have that veteran presence that can come in and just like show the ropes. Like, let's just take for an example, right? This is just hypothetically speaking, and I don't mean to make you throw up in your mouth because I'm mentioning a Viking, but like imagine if you had an Adam Thielen, right? He may not be Adam Thielen of old, but he can be that guy that can kind of show a lot of these guys the ropes, because in that wide receiver room, maybe you lean on a Romeo Dobbs who has quite a bit of experience, but like it's kind of the blind leading the blind, right? Like I think even a guy like Alan Lazard, who always follows Aaron Rodgers everywhere, so I don't know if that would have worked out, but like maybe even a guy like him like could have been pretty solid to just lead this wide receiving core, because again, as you mentioned, you have a bunch of stuff and a bunch of untapped potential, but it's like who's that guy that we truly can consistently lean on due to both health and just also knowing he's my guy, he can go get it done.
I mean, I think Josh Jacobs is really that guy on offense, and you just added Micah, but Xavier McKinney's been that guy on defense for the last 2 years, right? Yeah, and probably another guy you're happy to not see in the division any longer. We'll just keep taking the dudes from the NFC East at this point in time and infuse them on this team, especially when they're only going into their second contract. I mean, give me that person's prime and I'll take it. But here's an underrated one. Mecole Hardman, he's a 3-time champion. He is on the Packers practice squad right now, spent all camp. And I think besides his ability as a returner, they really brought him in to kind of be a veteran presence and kind of show some of those guys. I think there's a lot of Matthew Golden's game that emulates, something like Mecole Hardman looks like. Right. So, I don't think that's a big coincidence either.
Okay. Great to learn and great to know. Let's get to some of these super chats here, and then we'll jump switching sides to the defense side of the ball, because I'm very interested to talk about your defense. And again, if you guys are just coming in, please make sure you sub up. Jordan Olson, the Sound Gouda. Did I say it right? I was messing it up all day. If I didn't say it right, you take it away.
Sounds Gouda. Yep, it's on YouTube. Look us up. Sounds Gouda. If you're from East and cheese isn't your thing, Gouda's a type of cheese. It's delicious. So
definitely. I mean, I knew it was like a cheese, but I was like, I don't want to get up here and say it wrong, so I'm just gonna allow my guy to say it first so I can hear it. But no, seriously, guys, sub up to these two great guys. We only got one half tonight. You know what I mean? But there is two best friends. Love talking about their Packers, and they have great content. So do yourself a favor and subscribe. And again, like I told you all the time, especially when it comes to these NFC games, keep your friends closer and subscribe to them, because we may be locking horns again. Again, a lot of people said this is the NFC Championship game, and I'll get your take on not that specifically, but a lot of people have the Packers being the team to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. So after we read these super chats, I actually want to ask you about that. Door Gunner, shout out to my guy, Door Gunner, for the super chat. I appreciate you, my guy. He says, going to be a great game, but hope we shred some cheese heads for JD5's MVP pizza. Hey, I ain't going to lie to you. Our guy Jordan just told us, sound Gouda cheese is good. So hopefully we can sprinkle a little bit of that on our pizza on Tuesday. So shout out to my guy, Door Gunner. And then he doubled up and said, good test for our new run defense. And that's going to be interesting to talk about too here in a second, because Josh Jacobs, like I said, it was really good last year. Especially, like, all the running backs were really good last year as well, but especially Josh Jacobs. But I quite don't fear this run game how I would have did last year after what we did in week 1. But it's going to be a much better test because Josh Jacobs is a dang good RB. We'll get to that in a second. But back to my question, man, I don't know if I can go a day without saying Super Bowl predictions involving the Green Bay Packers. It seems like you guys are the NFC favorite, even ahead of the defending Super Bowl champions, Philadelphia Eagles. Talk a little bit about that and how that personally makes you feel.
I mean, I think the timeline has been building for the last 3 years to kind of be the window right now. And Brian Gutekunst, the Packers general manager, obviously made an all-in move by acquiring Micah Parsons. I think the Packers' current Super Bowl odds are plus 800, plus 850, depending on what site you're looking at. I was just taking a peek. Looks like you can get the Commanders anywhere from plus 1,700 to plus 2,000. So Vegas would say that they like the Packers' odds to win the Super Bowl slightly more than Washington right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, I like the Commanders and the Packers in the NFC Championship over the Lions based off of what I just saw. You know, the Lions are not going to go down without a fight. As you mentioned earlier, Dan Campbell is an excellent coach, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him, you know, there at the end, claw their way to 10, 11 wins and be a scrappy team if they can figure out things on the offensive side of the ball. But yeah, I mean, the Eagles, they've been quietly loading up the last couple of weeks on some low-key trades that actually have me a little concerned, right? They're filling some gaps. They're working on the foundation of their house, doing a little patch job here. You know, let me just pick up a Tank Bigsby. Let me, you know, make a couple of moves like that. So, you know, I think that the Eagles are not as scary as last year. You know, they obviously have had some coaching changes, a couple players pilfered onto a couple rosters. But yeah, I mean, I like the Rams. I like the Packers. I like the Commanders. You know, I like the Eagles. I think it's going to be 2 of those 4 teams that make up the NFC Championship game, to be honest. I mean, it's all going to be health. The NFL is a game of attrition. You know, Jaden Daniels goes down in week 6 or Jordan Love goes down in week 8. Along with any of those other stars, you know, season's looking a lot different at that point in time. So, I mean, like, how do you feel? Besides, I know you're pretty high on the Commanders. I mean, who do you really feel like is on that level for you that you see in that game?
I'm gonna piss a lot of people off when I say this, Jordan, but besides Jordan Love, you said everybody. I mean, not Jordan Love. Sorry, Jalen Hurts. You said if Jaden Daniels goes down, if Jordan Love goes down, our teams are screwed, and you're damn right about that. But Jaden, I keep mixing her name. Jalen Hurts is the only one who doesn't carry his team. No, I'm just playing. I just wanted to piss off some Eagles fans. Okay, you know, I wanted to do that because they swear to Jesus that Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback they've ever laid their eyes on. I just had to take a stab at them. But seriously, though, I agree with every team that you said. Washington, Green Bay, Detroit, LA, who's always, like, for whatever reason, I don't personally count them out, but they always have an up and down season, but always get hot at the right time. So you can never count them out. So I agree with all the teams that you named, but the one team that I think could be a shocker if health is a standpoint, and he picks up where he left off, Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay is a sneaky team that can at least make it to the NFC Championship game if all things are right. Baker Mayfield, man, what a resurgence his career has been. So that's probably like my other team that could be a sneaky surprise. I don't know if you throw Dallas in there, but again, I think Dallas should surprise a lot of people. with their performance in week 1. I personally think they should have won that game. Dak Prescott looked really, really good. So maybe you can slide them in there if you want, but they got to get past the Packers first, and we know that ain't happening. You guys own. If there's one team outside of your division that you own, and we thank you for it, like you can literally put your life savings on it. You're going to always beat Dallas, and let it be in Dallas. Oh, they have no shot at beating you guys, man. But I agree with you to those teams for the most part.
Yeah, the Cowboys, the Packers own the Cowboys, the Niners own the Packers. I mean, it's all a vicious circle, right? So
yeah, without a doubt. Now, I did want to get a little bit back into the game because before we close out, I did want to get your final score prediction and your keys to victory for your pack and whatnot. But I did want to talk to this point about here. Good test for our new run defense. You already alluded to Josh Jacobs is a dang good RB in the league, one of the best. And something that is going to be a true test for us because our defensive line was putrid last year, really bad. And I know it probably got put on full display for the whole world to see in the NFC Championship, but we significantly upgraded the interior of that defensive line and just the defensive line as a whole, whether it's bringing in Javon Kinlaw, who had a monster debut, obviously getting a healthy Daron Payne back, getting Dietrich Wise from New England Patriots, going out and getting Jacob Martin, a former Chicago Bear, Von Miller, who I know a lot of people clown because he's older and whatnot, but you never can have a guy. You can never tell me he turned down the was that 2-time Super Bowl champ? I want to see a 2-time because with the Rams and then with obviously Denver, he's Von Miller, bro. So you can never get me to not sign Von Miller. Like I said with Bobby Wagner last year, like we would have never expected a Bobby Wagner to sign here in Washington. We just wasn't that team. But it's going to be a great test for our front. And I'm truly confident in our ability to I don't say shut him down because he's going to get his, but I'm very confident in our ability to neutralize you guys' run game. And I think it's going to have to be a very, very healthy day for Jordan or for Josh Jacobs. Kind of be that extension of the offense in a sense. Like you said, you guys love being on the center, running play action for Jordan Love is when he's at his best. And the biggest thing, as we know, especially watching the Packers and Aaron Rodgers over the last few years, the play action, the run game sets up the play action. And if you guys can kill us on the ground or at least have some type of success, that's going to open up the play action really, really well. And it could be a long day for us because that's when you get, Jalen Reed down the field. That's when you get a Dontavian Wicks down the field, or even for lack of better words, which it was a beautiful ball, Romeo Dobbs, right? Like that's how you kill us over top. So just talk to me about Josh Jacobs and our defensive line, as you alluded to, is slightly better about the lines. How are you feeling about that matchup?
Yeah, I'll throw it back to you quick. How are you feeling about that offensive or that defensive line performance kind of coming off that game with the Giants? I don't really know what to make of it. The Giants didn't have Andrew Thomas out there. I wouldn't really put their offensive line as one of the top groups in this league. So you seem very, very confident, even after losing some vets in that group. So who do you think that the, top performer on that line is this year?
Yeah, without a doubt. Our defensive line was amazing on Sunday. And again, like you said, you kind of got to tread water lightly because it is the New York Giants, who already does not have a really good team overall, and they lost their best left tackle, or their best tackle in Andrew Thomas. But coming from where we came from last year, you have to be excited for what you've seen. Javon Kinlaw, absolute beast on Sunday. Daron Payne, I don't know what it is about Daron Payne in contract years, but the last time we seen this kind of Daron Payne, it was in 2022 before he got his contract extension. So maybe we need to just sign him to permanent 1-year deals, because that's when he's at his best. But interiorly, I think we're really good. We have a young fella in Jerzon Newton who can rotate in, but for the most part, our two starters, you got to watch out for interior and the interior on Sunday more than our exterior pass rush. If I'll be honest, our exterior pass rush is kind of mid, but as we know, as being football fans and somewhat knowledgeable about this game, quarterbacks hate interior pressure. So if you can push the pocket, get Jordan Love off his spot, getting them, thinking, that could potentially cause some mistakes. And not Jonathan Allen, as I seen him yesterday and miss a sack for the Minnesota Vikings. So I sure don't miss him for that. But Daron Payne, menace. Yeah, he had like 3 batted passes on Sunday and 1.5 sack. He was absolutely unblockable. And if you guys can't block him interiorly, he can cause you some trouble. Jordan Love may have an open receiver right in the middle of the field. Great play, great choice. But it can get batted down. Like, and that's for anybody, but just giving you some kind of context about how I feel about our defensive line. It's an overall 180 from what we were last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll be excited to kind of check that out. Like you said, there are a few injuries for the Packers. The Packers have reworked some of their interior offensive line too to get a little bit more push. You know, they bring in a guy like Aaron Banks, who's an excellent, run blocker. They replaced Josh Myers with Elton Jenkins by kicking him inside, and then Sean Ryan was already a really good, had a really good push, right? And then they go out draft Anthony Belton. So I think there's opportunities for them to, get strong push up front. Right. Josh Jacobs got a little stymied in the first half against the Detroit Lions. I think that they were really selling out against the run. And kind of once they figured out that Jordan Love was going to kind of soften things up with some of his, intermediate to deep passes, Josh Jacobs really had a nice, second half last week. So I expect to see some cutback, running lanes from him. He's always a pretty patient and tough runner. So, I'm not saying that he's going to go out and have 100 yards, but I certainly expect him to have, 70 or 80 yards and have an impact on this game. I feel good about it. I really think that this matchup is going to come down to the quarterbacks and what gets done in the air. And, back to your question about Jordan Love, he hasn't had a 200-yard performance in like his last 5 games, but he's been very efficient. I think that this is a game where you see both of these quarterbacks, try to push for 250, 300 yards passing. And I think that's where things get done on Thursday night. So.
Yeah, I'll be honest, this is our first time crossing paths, man, but it seems like we're locked in because I literally think that game is exactly how you just said. I think it's going to be won as we have a Vikings fan in here. I'm sorry, Jordan. I'm sorry. I don't mean to make your eyes bleed, but we have a Vikings fan in here. Shout out to my guy, Funny Boy. Shout out to your Vikings. Skull Vikes. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Don't be mad at me. I'm sorry.
Hey, don't be sorry. Only be sorry if you're a Bears fan today, because man, that was tough last night. Congratulations to the Vikings. We will see how JJ McCarthy looks going forward, but definitely showed a little grit in that game last night.
Yeah,
so
definitely, yeah. If you're a Bears fan right now, I'm sorry because you guys got fool's gold. Like that first half, they were going crazy because Caleb Williams 10 for 10. Oh my God! Second half comes in, but anyways, I am 100% right there with you. I think this game, I said it for me. I don't know if you remember last year's week 3 game for us versus the Bengals. It was kind of Jaden Daniels Monday night. This kind of his coming out game where he was like, yeah, I'm really one of those guys. I made a hot take, and I don't really think it's hot, but I think this is going to be Jaden Daniels Bengals game for this year. And that kind of bodes well for you all too, because if you go back to that game, Joe Burrow was lighting us up. Defenses couldn't get a stop. You know what I mean? And if it's anything like week 3, as I go back to my earlier point in the show, Jordan Love has my respect, because if he goes out there and lights it up, whether you win or lose, I don't think you can walk away from this game disappointed. Of course, yeah, you lose. It's tough, but it's a week 2 contest. We don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. It's not the end of the world. I think I'm right there with you with QB performances is going to be ultra for either team, and either team's performance to win or keys to victory. Both quarterbacks have to step up, and I think it's going to be a great duel.
Yeah, I agree. So.
Yeah. So lastly, before we get your final score predictions and a couple keys to victory, if you have them, I did want to talk about your defense, because we talked about my defense. We talked a little bit about my offense. Really my defense, honestly. I didn't even get into my offense, but defensively for you all, man, Rashawn Gary is somebody that, like, when healthy, man, that guy is so good. I mean, I'm not going to sit up here because I went to our game, and I'm not going to sit up here and act like I watched every single play live, but I did have it on the phone on my way back to my house, and you just kept hearing his name. You kept hearing his name. If it wasn't Quay Walker, right, it was Rashawn Gary's name who you constantly kept hearing, and obviously Micah Parsons had the chase down sack late. Talk to me how you feel about your defense as a whole, matching up against Washington's offense, Terry McLaurin, Debo Samuel, and a slew of other guys that we have. Just talk to me about your defense.
Yeah, I think the Packers defense is really going to be, one, if they can, they can win on that side of the ball if they generate pressure. And I think Micah Parsons unlocks that pressure for them, right? Like you mentioned Rashawn Gary. Rashawn Gary is like, he's like that classic, like, what do I want to say? Like Big Lots ace, and like baseball,
Yeah.
right? Like, like kind of somebody who can really get the job done. But if you put somebody out there on the bump that can like really be, like a Cy Young contender, now you've got really like an impact, rotational player number 2 there. So, Rashawn Gary, Lucas Van Ness, Devontae Wyatt are really going to benefit from the Micah Parsons effect. Rashawn Gary was the most chipped and double teamed player in the NFL last year. So really he was taking a lot of that gravity from the opposing team's offenses. And now he's going to be free to move around in space. So, I really think with the addition of Micah Parsons, the emergence of Edgerrin Cooper, which I think Edgerrin Cooper, if you guys don't know much about him, second-year player out of Texas A&M. He's an emerging star at linebacker in this league. He's fast, he's physical, and, he's going to be a great player in this league for a long time. And then you got Xavier McKinney on the back end. The Packers now have 3 levels of playmakers in their defense, right? So I think the big question for the Packers is some of these younger secondary players. You saw them move on from Jair Alexander, although, if any indications, show anything from that Ravens game, maybe it's not so bad they moved on from Jair Alexander. But I really think if the Packers can generate pass rush, it can cover up for a lot of that. And, Terry McLaurin is one of the best in the business. I don't know if they'll try to, kind of shuttle him or if they're just going to let him go to either side and get it done. But, I think that this defensive side of the ball has some players. And I think that Jeff Hafley is a good guy with matchups and drawing up creative things. So be curious what he does in game 2 with Micah.
Yeah, great points you made for your Packers to let go of Jair Alexander, but bad for my Commanders because I'll tell you, Terry McLaurin, I don't know what it is when he's seen Jair Alexander, but even going back to his 2019 days, we lost that game against you guys in Lambeau, but he always lit up when he got to go against Jair Alexander. So I wish he was still around for this game, but as you alluded to, Jeff Hafley, you're a second-year defensive coordinator out of Boston College, from a head coach from them. Long gone are the days of Joe Burry for both of us. We can celebrate about this. Now, you got a somewhat reformed and older Joe Burry. Joe Burry made me pull my hair out. And I was a kid watching Joe Burry. So I had Joe Burry, I had Greg Minuski. Long are the days of him for both of us. So I'm happy for you on that front. You know what I mean? But it is going to be very interesting to see how Jeff Hafley uses Micah Parsons, because as we've seen for the early portions of the game, he was using him exactly how he should have, whether it's lining him up over the center, which I think he's ultra impressive at doing and ultra good at. He cost us hell last year in the Week 18 game. I mean, granted, it was our backup center, Tyler Biadasz, was not out there, but he killed us interiorly. And for me personally, I think Micah's at his best when you can't predict where he's at. They do not get the best version of Micah Parsons when you just line him up left side the whole first game. You have to move him around every single possession to get the best out of him and not allow the offensive line to kind of figure things out. But great point you made about your pass rush, because if there was anything on this team that necessarily feared me in a sense, it probably would be that pass rush, because for me, and again, you can speak better than it to me, but Xavier McKinney, absolute beast. And if he gets one in his vicinity, it's probably going the other way. So we got to kind of stay away from him, or at least try to limit his impact of this game. But outside of that, just on the outside looking in, your DB secondary kind of looks like food. And I don't mean to say that in the terms of they're not good, but Offensively, Cliff Kingsbury is a mastermind. And I mean, we should have had 40 points easily if it wasn't for self-inflicted wounds on Sunday, whether it was penalties, whether it was overthrows or drop passes. Should have easily been a 40 burger for us. And I look at your DBs and I think, if given the time for Jaden Daniels and obviously him being able to buy time with his legs, as he's a lot of people say, just get pressure on him, sack him, whatever. You have to catch him first. So if he can buy time with his legs or just have great protection up front, which we invested a lot in that offensive line, and they weren't too bad this past week, it could be a long day for your DBs because offensively, we're really that talented on the outside when it comes to weapons.
Yeah, one guy I was really hoping the Packers would select was Trey Amos. What have the early returns looked like on him? Are you impressed? Are you a Trey Amos believer? Or where do you stand on that selection?
Without a doubt. I love Trey. I call him Trey. I love Trey. I was big on his signing or his drafting. I was been banging the table that he's probably going to be future CB1 when Marshawn Lattimore is no longer here. But I'm going to be honest with you, Jay, and you may see this on Thursday, and I hope you do for my sake. I went on and said the Washington Commanders are going to have the best secondary in football. I think we already have maybe one of the best in the NFC, but you talk about Trey Amos, who we drafted, rookie. Marshawn Lattimore looked really good Sunday. He was not healthy last year, but he looked really, really good Sunday. We gave Malik Neighbors hell, and Russell Wilson did too. Right? He was playing against his quarterback because the quarterback wasn't doing him no favors, but we shut down that offense of the Giants. They only had 6 points, and we have 3 guys. Really, you can go 5 deep because we have some bench guys that are really good. Noah Benogany, who played significant snaps for us last year as a starter role in the slot, and obviously we have Jonathan Jones, former Super Bowl guy. So for our starting 3, Marshawn Lattimore, Trey Amos, and Mikey Sarenstill, my guy, X Factor. I don't know. Do you follow college? Who's your college team?
I'm from Wisconsin originally, being a Packers fan. I live in Michigan now, so I'm a Wisconsin Badgers fan. Been going to, not so many recently, but went to a lot of Badgers games growing up. Now I work at Western Michigan University, so I go and watch a lot of live MAC football. I mean, we're not talking Big Ten at that point in time, but I get a secondary look at some of these, kind of B tier guys. But yeah, like Sanders still I liked as a prospect in the pre-draft process as well. So the Commanders have definitely invested in their secondary both through the draft, and trade, free agency, whatnot. But Lattimore is great. The biggest thing, as you said, he's got to stay healthy.
Yeah, and that's interesting that you live in Michigan because that may mean you already knew who Mikey Sarenstill was prior to us getting him, but he has been absolutely a beast for us, man. Like really, and that's why I say secondary wise, I think it could be a long day for your receivers. Like I truly do, and I don't mean to toot our own horn, but defensively, man, we're that much better. And if Jordan Love can go out there and have a really, really good showing, I think that's positive. Win or lose, it's positive takeaways because this is going to be one of the best secondaries. Not going to talk about defense as a whole because there's still questions with our exterior pass rush. But secondaries, if he's able to carve us up, again, win or lose, you should feel happy about that performance because our secondary is on a trajectory to be one of the best in the game. But again, we're talking with my guy, Jordan, representing the Sound Good podcast, and we're going to get out of here in a few minutes. But as you see, Chad is putting their score predictions in. So if you don't have any keys to victory for us for your Green Bay Packers, if you do, you can share them. But if not, give me your final score prediction. How do you think this thing is going to play out, my guy?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this. I haven't really had a lot of time to think about it up until about like 20 minutes before I jumped on here with you because I was like kind of still digesting all the stuff from the Lions game and I kind of haven't fully switched gears to this Commanders game yet. But, I think keys to victory. I think generating some pass rush. I think if the Packers can generate at least 3 sacks on Jaden Daniels, that gives them a chance. I think the 2 quarterbacks are going to each throw for 250 yards or more in this game. And, I don't have a receiver that's going to be a difference maker necessarily because I do believe that they are going to go receiver by committee, and Jordan Love typically does a pretty good job of taking his checkdowns Although I will say that I'm going to predict a little bit of a coming out party for Matthew Golden, though. He only had the 2 receptions last week. I think that there's a lot of guys to cover, and I think Matthew Golden could have something like, four receptions for 60 yards and a touchdown, and kind of put himself on the map a little bit here. So I'm going to go the 2 teams trade scores, and I'm going to say that the Packers hold off the Commanders 27-21, with the Commanders trying to make a late charge in the fourth quarter to take that lead and win the game. So that's what I got for you.
That's definitely a respectable take, and I could definitely say it. Now, hopefully that final outcome isn't the case for our burgundy and gold, but I definitely respect that take, and it's something that could happen. And you talk about your rookie for a coming out party. You're probably going to get a very, very nice dose of our running back, Bill Murd, Ja'Cory Krosky-Murd, the 7th round rookie. He has been taking the league by storm, had a really, really good showing in his debut. So don't be surprised if your defense gets a handful of Bill Krosky-Murd on the ground. But you gave your score prediction, and I'm going to end it off with mine. Had this game been in January, December, late November, I would be literally shaking in my boots right now, because I don't think there is a worse place you can go than on the road against Green Bay and Lambeau, freezing cold, loud, ruckus crowd. There's no other place that I would want to be. I'm not going to say would be, because I don't want to be there as the opposing team that late in the season. But given the fact that it's a crisp September day, September night, week 2, we're feeling a little bit upset at our performance, because, again, like I said to you, we left a lot on the table. Should have been 40-6, and we were pissed off at our performance because there was a lot of self-inflicted wounds. I think this quick turnaround bodes well for the Washington Commanders, because we're right back to it, and for the lack of better words, we don't really have that many injuries to worry about as well. It's going to be a really good game. As much as I want to say, Washington's going to dominate both sides, that's just probably not realistic, because this is a dang good Green Bay Packers team that we're facing. But for my prediction, I'm going to go high scoring. I'm going to say 35-31. Washington wins. I think defensively, Washington, or offensively, Washington gets a late score to take the lead. I say we're trailing 28-31. Jaden Daniels takes us down late, get a score. And then Jordan Love has time left to go out and walk it off. But our defense shuts him down, gets a stop, and they save the victory for Washington, and they improve to 2-0. And either way it goes, you're going to walk away impressed with your core. Not that you're not, because you're not me. You watch the Packers. You're probably already sold with Jordan Love, given the fact that you have the jersey. So not that moral victories care for you, but for me personally, man, it's going to be a really, really good game for both sides. And as I expected, we both have our teams winning on Thursday. So that being said, I'm not going to hold you up any more longer. Let us know how where we can find you, again, for everyone that's just checking in, and talk a little bit about your Packers final words, my guy.
Yeah, man. Thanks again for having me on. This was a blast. I kind of wish that the Commanders and the Packers were going to play again soon. So maybe it'll be a playoff rematch, and you can have me on here again, and we can touch base later in the season. But for any of you who want to know, you can find us at Sounds Gouda on YouTube, All Things Packers podcast. I'm at X at Olson Jord, and my best friend Rob, who's the co-host of the podcast, is at Sounds Gouda with 3 A's on X. So if you want to talk, NFL football, especially when we get to the draft season, we had a lot of fun mock drafts, have some other NFL related shows, give us a check out. So
Definitely do yourself a favor and subscribe to these guys' podcast. Best coverage on the Packers that I've came across, and they are great people. And I want to say I wish you luck for the rest of the season, just not week 2, my guy. But enjoy the game on Thursday. Be safe, and I'll be looking forward to seeing more great content coming from you all.
All right. Thanks again. Take care.
You too. So make sure you guys do yourself a favor and subscribe to the Sound Gouda podcast. Two great guys covering the Green Bay Packers. They are amazing, and they did not have to take their time out their night to join us because it's been tough finding Green Bay content creators, and these guys were so great to come on. So I really do appreciate them for that. But that being said, we're going to read a couple of the comments here, and then we'll get up out of here ourselves. But any last words that you may have, we're going to stick around for about 5 minutes or so to read some comments and whatnot. Let's see here. He says, I think he's been realistic. The Packers are not. They are. I'm not being nice when I talk about the prediction for this game. I think it's going to be a really, really good game for both sides. Again, this is an early week 2 matchup. This is a true test to see where this is a measuring stick game for both sides, right? Both teams have Super Bowl aspirations. Both teams expect to potentially make the Super Bowl. It's going to be a good game. If you're going into this game expecting a blowout or Washington's just going to destroy the Packers, you're sadly mistaken. Again, Jordan Love is off to a nice start. This defense has some great additions, obviously none bigger than Micah Parsons. This is a really, really good coaching staff with Matt LaFleur and obviously Jeff Hadley as their second year defensive coordinator. Like, this is not going to be a pushover, guys. I hope you don't understand. Like, I'm very confident in this game. And I've been saying the Packers don't stand a chance. And that's just me being confident because I think we're that much better as a team and overall roster-wise. But you're sadly mistaken if you think the Packers are just going to lay down. They're at home again. Second straight week at home. Their fans are going to be rowdy after getting a huge division win against the Detroit Lions. Like, this is not going to be a cakewalk, man. Without a doubt, it's going to be a very, very good game. But 35-27 Washington, I could see it. Says, I think, is this Duck right here? I think this is Duck. I think he just changed his name. But he says, I think these are 2 and 3 best teams in the NFC. Without a doubt. A lot of people have predicted the Packers to win the Super Bowl or to at least represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. And that's not a bad take at all. Like, this team is talented. Obviously, coaching staff have experience, have playoff experience as well. Like, this team is all in. And as our guy Jordan told us, they're pushing all their chips to the front. Like, this Micah Parsons move showed you that much. Like, they're ready to rock and roll and actually try to compete for a Lombardi. So this is that's definitely a good take right there. Is he going to be back on after the game? So for me, I that would be great. I would love to have like a recap of the game, live, like how I did last week with the Giants guy. But given the fact that it's a short week and it's going to be ending around 11 p.m., 12 p.m., I don't think so because it is that late. But maybe we'll see. We'll see. But without a doubt, go subscribe to the Sound Gouda podcast because they do some great work covering the Green Bay Packers. And as I told you all, you want to keep your friends, frenemies, whatever you want to call them, close because again, we may see these guys for another showing in the playoffs. But we'll take a couple more comments and then we'll get up out of here. 30-27 Washington victory. Okay, look, a lot of you all haven't been close, and I respect that wholeheartedly because I think it's going to be another close showing as well. 31-29. The Commanders win. Okay. Let's see if we continue to see these score predictions. Commanders by 5. I could see it as well. 30-27. I don't fear the Packers. It's just Micah got JD5. I don't fear them either. And that's why I was kind of like alluding to, like, I respect my opponent. I respect them. But talent-wise, I think Washington's roster is just significantly better. And I think that we're going to be able to show that on Thursday. Again, this is a big Jordan Love game for me, man. I'm so interested to see how he performs on Thursday because it's going to tell me all I need to know about how I feel about him as a football fan, not a Commanders fan, but just a genuine football fan because the jury to me is still out on him in terms of is he one of those guys? Is he a starting quarterback for sure? Is he top 15 for sure without a doubt? But is he one of those guys in terms of Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen? Like, is he a part of that crew? I think you'll get your answer on Thursday. Hot Fever says, I would have took that Lambeau trip with my brother, but our schedules ain't lined up yet. We're going to Lambeau at the perfect time. As I told Jordan, like, if this was late in the season, I probably would have had the Packers winning this game without a doubt. Like, they probably would have won that game to me. But since it's early in the season, I think the Commanders are going to end up getting them. Let's see. My nephew's a Packers fan too. Me and them always troll each other when our teams face off. Okay, so we got some Packers fans in here too. That's very, very cool. Shout out to your nephew for being a Packers team. Anything but Dallas, Philly, and New York. So he's good with me. Shout out to the Packers, of course. Let's see. He says, let me see. It says, nah, man, to be honest, Packer fans are cool. I have two brothers that are Cowboys fans, so they talk ish nonstop. Yeah, I haven't really came across like I haven't came across many Packers fans, but the minimum that I have come across, they have always been pretty cool. So 28-24 Commanders. Okay, cool. Shout out Vikings, F the Bears. Oh man. Thanks to the Vikings for making Caleb cry. Yeah, you know the Bears fans hate us, especially for last year's Hail Murray. So shout out to them. Let's see. I'm going to take probably a couple more comments here, and then we'll get up out of here. Probably like 2 or 3 more comments. Payne was elite on Sunday. He was amazing. And I told Jordan that, like, interiorly, we significantly got better. And if there was any way that we could disrupt Jordan Love or get him off his spot, it would have to be that interior pressure. Because exteriorly, we're not the best, but Daron Payne, Javon Kinlaw, Dietrich Wise, all those guys inside could definitely cause some havoc on Thursday. So it says, I only think we can beat ourselves. That's not a bad take. That's not a bad take at all. Again, we had 10 penalties on Sunday against the New York Giants. We had 2-3 overthrows against the New York Giants, right? That should have been touchdowns. Jaden Daniels was not sharp at all on Sunday, if we're being honest. And even when he's not his best, he's still better than 75% of the league. You probably look at that stat line and wouldn't have known that he wasn't sharp. You had to actually watch every single game to realize, hey, this was not Jaden Daniels' best game in terms of accuracy and everything, holding on to the ball a little bit too long. But again, that's why I say we kind of have that advantage going into Thursday because we can just get right back to it. And not that Green Bay can't, because obviously they are as well. But in terms of our team only, like, this is, in my opinion, a pretty good opportunity to jump out to a 2-0 start. But that being said, I'm going to go ahead and slide to the left, exit stage, left or right, however you want to look at it. And we're going to call it a night. But I appreciate my guy, Jordan, representing the Sound Gouda podcast for the Green Bay Packers. Make sure you guys sub them up and show them love because they did not have to do this. And he was so kind to join the program. So I appreciate him, and go show him some love and tell him One Guy Talking Sports sent you. But that being said, make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the channel. On the road to 11,000 subscribers. So we greatly appreciate it if you can reach that goal as soon as possible. Thank you so much. Y'all have a blessed one. Stay safe. Be easy out there. I'm going to be live play-by-play of the game on Thursday, by the way. We're back doing live play-by-play, so come through and chill and join the watch party. But that being said, see you later. Peace.
Ballin' like I'm Deshaun, throw the bomb, G. That's IG, my jersey never seen a line.